Audn, or like most of us would probably say Audn or Auðn. This one is of Icelandic black metal scene, and pretty much everybody who has been following the Icelandic black metal scene rise and expand the past few years know that there are plenty of talent in the country, and many of those bands have been exploring so-called third wave of black metal, or sort of modern ways of black metal. However, Auðn is here with the third album, and this is not exactly that kind of modern thing. Well, very much modern in a ways. Also, not can exactly claim that this is some kind of a 90s retro release or anything like that. But let's be honest about it. So many ways, this is just very, very traditional take on melodic and atmospheric black metal. So one of those albums that is going with the how to say traditional paths, and the name is, as you can pretty much see, Vökudraumsins fangi. I have no idea how to properly pronounce it. Anyway, this is a Season of Mist release, already out for a roughly couple of months. Third album by the Icelandic band, and here is their Metal Archive site. The band has been there for 10 years now, and has been putting out albums every 3 years. This one goes almost an hour, well, 53 minutes or so, and 55 exactly says here. And this is kind of interesting because, first of all, it's not really a memorable album. I mean, when it comes to the individual riffs, songs, etc., basically everything here seems like, yeah, I've heard the story a million times before. And to some people, that is just a curse word. I mean, I know it. I am not gonna like it because, I mean, why would I go for some newer albums? And I'm like, hey, hold your horses, Joe. What if I could just tell you about this band that sounds kind of a familiar, and yet at the same time also offers you a little bit of a new shades to your palette? And Joe would be like, no, since Birtan, everything has been pretty much the same doing atmospheric black metal. Now, certain kind of people listening to black metal are gonna just say this is one of those bands that you really don't need after the 90s. Unless you are one of those Joes out there, I would say give this one a chance. Because what Audn is doing with this kind of a safe and unoriginal black metal is they're delivering you a bunch of nice melodies, some nice atmospheric feeling, and the general overall production, vocals, riffs, no matter how familiar they might seem, it's also at the same time doing the path, paving the road that, while it might be a little bit familiar and not exactly the most memorable or unique in nature, is also the kind of stuff that is very much more easier to kind of get related to kind of get that feeling like you're almost in your mental mindset traveling to Iceland. There's something very very much present, this sort of a kind of a feeling that I really can't get my finger on, but it's very, very Icelandic. So at the same time, one could say, yeah, this kind of album could have come out from Norway, Finland, Sweden, etc. It doesn't really happen. So while Auðn sounds like I don't know why I said Auðn, while the band itself said something like Auðn. Anyway, while this is definitely something that you probably feel like reminiscent of certain other bands. I'm not gonna say Mgwa, even though you're thinking about it, but even though this kind of falls in the same category, they're still like 1 or 2 steps away, just a little bit different, while at the same time kind of a safe. And by safe, I mean that only applies into black metal context. Obviously, you have those raspy vocals. Obviously, the music is such that you really don't get an airplay, radio or whatever, to hear this kind of music. But when we're talking about black metal context, obviously there are lots of bands which are rawer, more violent, faster tempo and all that stuff. It doesn't really matter. In my opinion, what these guys are doing is kind of a safe, but at the same time, at least it's not weird avant-garde stuff which just makes no sense to most of us right there. So I wouldn't say lack of originality is a bad thing, especially with albums like this. No, this is not album of the year material, but still a really solid and nice release. To put it in numbers, I would say roughly 8 out of 10. I really enjoy it, and it doesn't even feel that lengthy. I mean, most albums which go like 50 plus seem like endlessly way too long, much like my opinion reviews here. But if I just am enjoying it, I wouldn't complain. So, in case you missed it in October or even November, time to check it out. You will find the Bandcamp link in the links below, or maybe in your favorite streaming services. Give it a go, and if you like the band, go check out my interview from 2 years ago with these guys. It might be interesting to hear what their thoughts, even though it's from 2019 or so. Anyway, good album. Go give it a chance.